But let's get moving on to the second fight on the card, which is a middleweight matchup between Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. This is the second matchup between them. The first one was just about, like, I think it was 8 to 10 years ago, where you had Chris Weidman. I believe he knocked out Uriah Hall around the Ultimate Fighter finale, I think it was. But this is a matchup where they're going in. They're in two opposite directions from back then to now. But what do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, first I have to go back and watch that fight. If I don't even remember that happening, so I'm definitely gonna have to watch that. But with this fight, you're talking about underside of their career, right? With Anthony Smith, I think the same applies to Chris Weidman. Honestly, this is a very interesting fight and is really based on, in my opinion, which Uriah Hall shows up. Hall's coming in 16-9 and riding a 3-fight win streak, but historically, just when Hall is making the turn to take the next step, he struggles with turning the corner. Now with Weidman, he's on the back. He's back after an 8-month layoff and looking to capitalize off that win against Magomed Akhmedov. Both of these guys are talented, but I give the stand-up edge to Hall and the ground game to Weidman. I can see Weidman shooting and trying to wear down Hall by controlling the time on the ground, where I can see Hall beginning defensive as he does, trying to get a time for Weidman's takedowns and to gauge the distance. But like I said in the beginning, this fight depends on which Uriah Hall shows up. There's a Hall who's dynamic and can knock you out, knock you unconscious, and then there's the Uriah Hall who doesn't want to hurt people or isn't passionate about fighting anymore. And given that, I'm still going to go with Uriah Hall by KO just based off of the streak he's put together. And I believe, like I said, Weidman's career is starting to come to an end. Also, it would be ironic for Hall if he were to beat Weidman after beating Anderson Silva. Like if you were to go back 10 years ago, he'd be fighter of the year after knocking those two out. So I'm still going to go with Uriah Hall. I think he's going to win this fight.
Yeah, Uriah Hall, he's coming in, like you just said. He just had that one of his best fights in his career against Anderson Silva where he knocked him out. He was showing his jab and leg kicks very well. And then you got Chris Weidman, who everybody was writing him off. And then now he's on a 3-fight winning streak that he was able to pull off. He hasn't looked the same. He's definitely twice as slower than he was before. He hasn't been able to utilize some of his power and wrestling because he's a step slower. There's a reason why he went on that losing streak. It's because he lost some of that it factor that he had, but now he's been able to get back to that like 10 spot that he was at with the 3-fight win streak. I just feel like the difference in this fight is going to be Uriah Hall's quickness. Like, I feel like Weidman's going to use his wrestling in this matchup to try and get Hall down and then control the pace on the ground. And he's going to try and do the ground and pound and try and use his grappling against Hall to slow him down. And it's going to kind of be like Andrei Arlovski, how he's not the same killer, so he fights the decision or he wears his opponent out. That's what Chris Weidman's going to do. Whereas Uriah Hall, I think his best point of action is to use his jab. That's his strongest weapon. Use the jab, stay distance away, kick him, get him with the leg kicks from a distance, stay away. Use what Sirgan did against Rosenstruck, who he would hit in, come back out, hit in, come back out, and just keep doing that. Use the pace to your advantage. You got the more fresh fighter on hands. He's younger, and the big thing that changed Uriah Hall's career was his trainer. He switched over to Sayer Saad a few years ago, and it's shown a lot of positive effects to it. Like everything that he's done and succeeded with lately has because of the new trainer that he added to his team. And I just feel like I don't think it's going to go first round. But I feel like it's going to be a second round KO by Uriah Hall. One thing with Weidman now is usually after the first round, he slows down tremendously. It's like he has the first round with the gas tank, and then after that, he just slows down to like a 10 speed from the 100 speed that he was at the beginning. He just doesn't have the gas tank anymore. So I feel like as long as Uriah Hall can weather the first round storm, he's going to be good, and he's going to get that second round knockout.
Dude, it's confusing with Chris Weidman. He had that experiment up at light heavyweight that I think he dropped 2 straight, and then he came back down and he finally got back on that winning track with this last win. So he's like, I think he's like 2-3 in his last 5. He switched up training camps. He's usually with Sarah Longo. And I know he's been working with them too, but he's been doing a lot of work down in North Carolina with Wonder Boy, who I believe is his brother-in-law. So they're doing a lot of work down there. And I'm curious to see where he goes from there. But again, like you said with Uriah Hall changing up the training camps, getting a new coach, there's still something about Uriah Hall that if you listen to his post-fight interviews, he always says, and it's been like this for like 3 years, I don't know if my heart's in the game anymore. I don't know if I want to do this. But he keeps showing up. I remember him fighting last against Anderson Silva, knocked Anderson Silva out, but he looked cautious the entire fight. You know what I mean? He drugged that fight out because it was one of his idols. And at the end, you see him. I believe he cried like a lot after the end of that fight because he got to. Yeah, you don't want to beat the crap out of your heroes, but he has to. It's a fight game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that he does look up to Chris Weidman too. They're both New York guys. They're both friendly. I'm curious to see if he goes in with the same mentality against Weidman, someone who he respects, somebody who he looks up to, and he kind of is hesitant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see which Uriah Hall shows up, because I don't want him to win and then Rogan interviews him or whoever's there and says, you know, I'm really not into it anymore. I wake up and I don't feel like fighting. But then you're 4 fights in, 4-fight win streak, you're knocking on the door to a title shot. It's just it's confusing to me, but I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, I think Hall knows what's at stake here. Like, this is a really important matchup for him. He's right there at the bottom of the top 10. If he consists, he'll be able to flirt around that top 5 and get a really established opponent there. So he knows he's going to have to win this, and then Weidman knows that if he loses this, that more than likely he's not done, but he won't get another title shot again. Like he'll be pushed outside the top 10, and then he'll have to be like the gatekeeper from now on, more so. Like, I could see him losing this and then fighting Kevin Holland next.
Yeah, I feel like even if Weidman wins this, he'd probably need like 1 or 2 more fights to even get a title shot. Yeah. I don't know if an Adesanya Weidman fight is, bank breaking at this point in Weidman's career. 10 years ago,
yeah. Oh, not now. 10 years ago, easily, but not now.
Yeah, and I love Weidman. I think he's a great fighter. I enjoy all his fights, but it's hard to see some of your favorite fighters at the back end of their career. In my mind, he may feel like totally rejuvenated. He hasn't fought almost a year, so maybe he feels super great going in there. He's a young pup again, but I don't know.
Yeah, he just took too much damage in the downside of his career, and then with him getting older, he lost some of that swag and then gas tank that he was known for, that he was able to last. He used that wrestling, and then he had power in his hands. Now he doesn't have half of that, so it's like it's first round of bust for him.
Yeah, you're right.